The same way I think I would fight and scream, or I'm assuming you would fight and scream and say it's immoral to allow people to harm children. Fully, like a 6-year-old child, in whatever way possible. I don't need to be any further, I don't need to be any more graphic, but in any way possible that someone could harm a 6-year-old child. And then even if it's not your own 6-year-old child, that I'm sure you would get outraged at the idea of our society allowing that to be ongoing. So too, there are tens of millions who feel that this is similarly an outrage, that we're allowing these potential humans to be killed in the womb. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm not comparing them, saying that just as this is immoral, that is immoral. I am not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that to many people, they're both immoral, and even if one is a little more immoral or this is a little less immoral, the point is they're both considered by tens of millions to be highly immoral. I'm sure every pro-choice person out there would say, yes, that is really immoral, and I cannot stand by while that's happening in my country or happening with my neighbors. You have to understand that there are literally tens of millions of people who say when you're getting an abortion, it is immoral, and I can't stand by while you're doing it, the same way I wouldn't stand by when a 6-year-old is suffering at the hands of abuse. So, and when you understand it from that perspective and recognize that even though you don't agree with that perspective, you don't think it's anything that's immoral, but there are great numbers of people in society who think that way. So, and that it's a reflection, that our laws are a reflection of who we are as a society, based on the issue as to, is this moral or immoral? Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yes.
Did you hear me talk about the 5-year-olds in another state who were being abused? Did you?
No.
Okay, so I want to ask you. This for a question. Let's assume that 10 miles from you, there is a bunch of adults who basically kidnap kids and do terrible things to them. 5-6-year-old children, terrible things to them. Okay, is that your business?
That is, you're asking me as an individual whether is that my business?
Is that your business or not?
When it comes down to it, I make it my business. The majority of people, I don't believe, make it their business.
Okay, fine.
They turn a blind eye.
On what basis is it your business? Why is it your business? It's not your kids.
Because when it comes down to it, I've seen abuse.
Okay, but just because you've seen abuse, that does. Please continue.
And I don't feel that any child should go through that, and they should be reported.
I agree with you. I think it is your business. But I'm saying the people who are doing it, can they not look at you and say, why is it your business? It's not your kid. It's not your kid. It's not your kid. And perhaps they make money by doing it. So who are you? They could say, Tracy, who are you to intervene? It's got nothing to do with you.
Well, when it comes down to it, I'm guessing you and I probably grew up in the same era. You and I grew up when it was okay to beat the shit out of excuse my French. Oops.
That's okay.
Beat the crap out of your children.
I wasn't talking about that type of abuse. I was talking about far worse type of abuse. I was being clean.
That doesn't have to be 5 miles down the road. That can be right next door. And it is. Sometimes it is right next door.
I'm saying is, but if it's right next door, then in that case you might hear noises and might have an impact on you. What I'm saying, if it's someone who's living 10 miles away from you, and you're never going to meet them, and you don't know anything about these children, you know the parents of the children, you have nothing to do with these children, but you know it's happening. Let's say you learn that it's happening 10 miles down the road from you. My question is, would you think that that's your business?
Okay, so why does it matter what the distance is?
Well, my point is, I don't want the activity that's going on there to be something that's impacting you directly in any way, shape, or form.
I see.
Right. So my question is, I think you answered this question. So So, but I think
But when it comes down to it, if it's 10 miles from me, I'm not going to know about it, right?
okay. But let's say you learn about it. So
Okay.
so is
How do
this
I learn about it?
you're
Lisa has
drive?
been called in and there's a report in the newspaper.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's say yeah. You know what? Let's say there's a report about it in the newspaper, and everyone in that community thinks, oh, that's totally fine. That's just Bill doing what Bill does. Would it be your business?
I think it depends on the level of where things are at.
No. Okay. I'm saying worst possible abuses.
Well, I'm concerned, yes. Can I do anything about it? Probably not. Are the
Okay.
police handling it? Are the courts handling it?
What I'm saying is, would you feel a certain outrage about this thing happening to these children?
Of course. Of course. You
But
think I would not?
why? Why? I assume you would. I assume you would. You're human. Any human would. But my question is, but if it's not your kid, and you don't know these kids, and you're never going to meet them, you're never going to meet their families, you have nothing to do with these adults who are doing these terrible, terrible, terrible things. What makes it your business?
So what makes it your business to know what's going on with my body?
That's my point. You just answer you the same way it is your business. What's happening there? Because there's a certain.
No, it's not. No, so you're using that term. It's my business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really my business. It really isn't. You want to go ahead and catch me up in it's your business. No, it's not. I can go ahead and stick my nose in and find out what's going on. But when it comes down to it, what I do with my body is none of your concern. You have no clue who I am.
My perspective is that if someone is doing something like that in my town, in my neighborhood, in my state, or in my country, if they're doing something terrible like that to a child, that's my business. And I have a right to basically scream to the authorities and say, you need to protect these children from these animals.
Okay, I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you. But at the same point, we don't even make it our business generally, not even for the atrocities that do happen to children. We don't even make it our business to make sure in the United States that every child does not go hungry. Instead, we build mega churches.
And that's arguably true. I won't refute that there could be a hypocrisy. Just because a person or entity might have a shortcoming in direction in areas 1 through 1,000, they might have 1,000 shortcomings. Does that mean that their comments about seeing something that they deem immoral, like a child being abused, that has no merit anymore?
No, of course not. But when it comes down to it, we aren't even taking care of the basics.
The point that I'm trying to make here is that sometimes, if something is something that we consider serious enough, even if it's not me, it's not directly affecting me, because it's something that's of such grave moral concern, it does become the business of strangers.
Yeah, but it's your moral concern.
But what I'm saying is, I agree with you that there's a great deal of hypocrisy. There's a great deal of hypocrisy in the world, and that is one of the foibles of men. And when I say man, I mean generically mankind. We all, to one degree or another, probably can be found to be hypocritical one way or another, and some are far, far more hypocritical than others. It's definitely true. And I certainly wouldn't put that past politicians.
Oh, and we can go ahead and put that not just on politicians, we can put it on a lot of people that are leader of churches.
Perhaps. Anyone seeking power, you can make that claim about. I'm not looking to cast aspersions about people from faith A versus B or C, and you might think it's from all religious denominations.
I'm going across the board on this.
Oh, okay. That could be your opinion. My point is that the human animal tends to be somewhat hypocritical. That doesn't mean that we're going to invalidate the opinions of people simply because they're hypocrites. If there's logic and soundness behind it, then we should just look at that and and standing in a vacuum versus if there isn't any logic or soundness behind it. Your personal opinion is that there's absolutely nothing immoral in a woman killing a fetus. I guess that I don't know if it's all the way through pregnancy or certain stages. I don't know. I'm not passing judgment, and I don't care. I don't care.
Is there any problem with a man killing sperm? I mean, that is a living thing.
Well, my point was, you definitely feel that at some point that and I don't. It doesn't really matter what stage we're talking about, but at some point, there's absolutely nothing wrong with aborting a fetus, right? That's your take on it.
I think that's up to the individual.
No. You're saying, but
what are you asking for? My personal opinion?
Well, yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you thought there was something terrible, let's say you assumed that there was something evil about killing a fetus. I don't think that the same way. Yeah, when I say wrong, I'm saying immoral. I'm saying evil. Like, you're doing a bad thing. If you believe that it was something evil, I don't think you would be saying it's okay for a woman to make this decision.
Well, but that's also, I feel like when you put evil upon it, you're casting dispersions on a person and their personality, that they are essentially evil. No,
I'm not saying they're evil. I didn't say they're evil. I said the action is evil.
Well, but the action of that person makes them evil, does it not?
No, I don't agree with that at all, personally.
But that seems to be what a lot of people are getting all up in arms about. Is these people are evil. They're killing fetuses. No, they're making a choice about what's happening with their life. And so when it comes down to it, you really need to look at the circumstances of these people, women, and what they're going through. And our society as a whole needs to be a whole lot more supportive, rather than going ahead and making them out to be these evil animals. My God, I can't believe you did that. Well, why are we casting judgment upon other people? That's not our job. I mean, from what I understand from any religion, it's not our job to cast judgment on other human beings.
The point that I was getting at is this: let's forget about casting the person as, evil, good, moral, immoral, whatever. I'm simply focusing on this act.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to address this earlier in the show, when I was talking about the concept of the morality of the society that you're living in there, I'll ask you right now, if you knew that 1,000 miles away from you, there was some organization, which was a terrible ring, that basically would have the most terrible abuses possible to 5-year-old children, would you feel outrage over that?
I feel outraged about any abuse whatsoever.
Of course. I'm saying, and you would want to see that stopped,
right?
Because that's where your line of morality is, and I'm not judging your line of morality, which I think 98% of America, if not more, agrees with you in that perspective. And I give that example not to qualify or quantify a level of wrong of that scenario of a ring of 5-year-olds being, a ring that basically 5-year-olds being abused to the topic of abortion. But when you recognize that there are many millions of people who look at them as being similarly wrong, you can understand, since you understand yourself in situation A with the small children, how much it bothers you, and that you would want that stopped. So these other people, who their line of morality is somewhat different from yours, they would want both of these things stopped. They want the children not being abused, and they want the fetuses not being aborted. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.